Do you bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
It is a football Friday here on Birds 365. Getting ready for a weekend, and we're getting that much closer to Eagles football. Oh, John McMullen got to experience Eagle football yesterday in the sauna that was South Philadelphia, but another team will actually be on the field 1 week from today with their first preseason game against the Jets. Good to have you back, Johnny Mack. A little warm for you yesterday. The Nick Sirianni seemed to be eating it up.
Yeah, well, you should have saw his T-shirt. I don't know about that, but, it was hot. It was a hot one. But, that's training camp in the NFL. I was surprised. I thought they'd go the opposite way. They did not. So they moved up practice an hour, but they had their longest practice of the summer was scheduled to go an hour and 50 minutes. I clocked it at 1:46 exactly. So they didn't beg off the heat. They moved it up, so they did as much as they could, but it was still stinking hot out there, Jody.
It was very hot, and yes, they did stay hydrated, and they stayed out there. I would have bet on like $1.10 if I were.
Yeah, I had $1.15 before we started,
and I might, if you had said it at 1:15, I might have taken the over, under. Excuse me. So kudos to them. They did put the time in. I guess my question to you is, who's the guy that you always say is the mastermind behind shortened practice? Arch Denoda.
Okay.
Was he not to be seen yesterday?
Chief medical officer.
Is he still on?
No, I don't. When I say that I don't say Arch determines the practice schedule. I think he gives his advice, and his advice is there on the side of safety. And the Eagles set up this practice schedule where, that's probably as long as they'll go. Maybe they'll go 2 hours one day at some point. But for the most part, we know they've done this cost benefit analysis. I talk about it all the time. It's more important to get the players healthy as possible, to get the key players as healthy as possible for week 1, September 11th in Detroit. And by the way, I agree with that. That part of it, I agree with it. So to me, the question is, I think the assumption is coaches hate to admit they don't have enough time. We asked Denard Wilson, for instance, last week, the Eagles secondary coach, and they have so many corners. We asked them the question, how do you evaluate these guys on the back end of the roster? I mean, they never get any meaningful reps. And it's like, well, if you get 2 reps, you got to make the most of them. And I get the football mentality of it, but I mean, come on, you can't expect some young kid to do something with 2 reps. I mean, he might do everything right. He might line up correctly. He might show the proper technique, but he's not going to be able to splash himself on the roster. And then he went to preseason games, and that's real because the Eagles aren't going to play many of their key players in preseason.
Right.
So that's where they'll get their opportunity. But, I mean, you don't have enough time to prepare. It's common sense compared to what it was before. everybody's under the same rules, so it's a sliding scale. It doesn't matter. So to me, it comes to the teams that use every piece of every minute available to them to prepare versus the other teams that go in a different direction and are concerned more about the safety part of it. That to me is the real question. And I kind of agree with the Eagles, to be honest, because I've always said, if you can't prepare like you want to, like you would want to, like the old days, keep everybody as healthy as possible. Make sure your good players are out there.
All right, that is understood. But prior to yesterday's game, prior to yesterday's practice, you found out there were a whole bunch of Eagles not practicing anyway.
Well, that's still safety related, though, Jody. They're so cautious with everything. Like if you want a hangnail, you're not going to practice for 5 days. But they had some concussions, which are obviously, and that was the problem with the Eagles' offense.
Yeah, how
yesterday.
did they get a concussion with everybody wearing the Guardian helmets?
Well, yeah. It's not a good advertisement for the Guardian caps, is it? 33% more safety. Wasn't enough for Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard. I knew Andre was hurt because he left the practice field. We talked about it on Tuesday. All the days run together. But, it didn't look serious. It didn't look like any kind of leg or, he wasn't in pain. So it makes sense. It evidently suffered a concussion at some point. Jordan, he finished. I have no idea where he got his concussion. Maybe you just bang heads and you get a headache later. Who knows? But, as good as the Eagles' offensive line is, that tells you, man, you lose your first team left tackle and then you lose your second team left tackle and you're down to your third team left tackle, which is LaRaven Clark, who is probably, if you want to go down the list, probably as good as you're going to get as a third team left tackle. That's still not good. The Eagles defense feasted, and that's why the Eagles offense had a difficult time yesterday.
LaRaven Clark did not shine yesterday? Is that what you're telling
me? He did not. He did not.
Did you ask Denard Wilson about that? That, hey, you got a chance and see you later, bye. Yeah. You gotta be able. You never know when you're gonna get those reps, but when they are,
2 reps,
damn it,
baby.
you better step in and play at the highest level.
Mario Goodrich, take advantage of your 2 reps.
Man, that's harsh.
Yeah, that is harsh.
All right, one other guy was hurt that I want to ask about if you have any extra insider knowledge. Devonta Smith. You said earlier in the week, again, the days are running one into the other for me too. That you think that Devonta has been used a little less in all the reps that you've seen in practice. It seems to you to be Goddard or Brown and the other guys get the scraps whenever the ball is spread around a little bit, but the Eagles going out of their way, or at least Jalen Hurts is with the first team reps to get the ball to his 2 top targets, which means Devonta's no better than third, and the drop-off seems to be between second and third, and that he hadn't gotten the ball as much as you would have thought that he would to this point in camp. Well, he can't get it at all if he's not out on the field. Groin issue, didn't practice. Is this possibly one of the reasons why he's not getting the ball as much as you thought he would, that he just hasn't been running 100% this camp?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think he hurt his groin Tuesday, and he was on the field, by the way, yesterday. So that's a clear indication it's not very serious. So that's what I was talking about. The Eagles are going to be cautious with their key players. If it were serious, he wouldn't be near the field. He was out there playing extra coach to some of the young receivers and watching practice. And they're just being cautious with him. Like I said, if there's anything that you're not optimal level, they're gonna keep you out of practice. The other stuff about him not getting the football, I'm a little bit concerned with that. But I think that's more of a coaching thing than a quarterback thing or a player thing. Like, I don't think it's Devonta Smith's fault. He should be getting the ball. He was running well. I joked he might have got hurt when Bradbury lit him up, but that was impressive. That was one of the most impressive plays of camp. But he's a really good player. And Jalen Hurts is not purposefully not getting the football. Again, the Eagles offense is designed with two players in mind, passing offense. And, yeah, one is going to be A.J. Brown. Two is going to be Dallas Goedert. Three is going to be Devontae Smith. That's fine. I don't have a problem with the hierarchy. But you have to understand, okay, if most plays, you have two significant progressions, and then you're not getting to a safeguard, well, then you got to flip it around as a coaching staff. You can't show the tendency that I'm always going to A.J. Brown, I'm always going to Dallas Goedert. You got a really good other receiver, and you got to break those tendencies, and you got to make Devontae the top progression on more plays. I think so. To me, that's a coaching issue, and we'll see if that continues. I think they'll figure it out. They have to be more disciplined and say, all right, we got to rotate this thing. That I think is the problem. But maybe they're not game planning, so they're just running plays, and their first progression is A.J. Brown. So when he's out there, he's going to get a lot of traffic. And number two is Dallas Goedert. He's going to get a lot of traffic. Hopefully it changes when they actually game plan.
We shall see, yes, once they actually start to play game. Practice is one thing, games are another. One other position I want to ask you about before we get our first guest up here in a couple of minutes. Our buddy Martin Frank from the Delaware News Journal going to hop aboard. Always good to catch up with Martin. And then a special guest in hour number 2. But the position I want to get to is tight end. Calcaterra still not back yet. Most of us, and this is just our guesswork at this time, if you're telling me Goddard's getting all the important reps in practice, I don't know how they are actually determining who should be tight end 2, tight end 3, practice squad. Thank you for participating. We'll have a bus ticket ready for you. Tight end position hasn't been one that we've had reason to talk about much, but Calcaterra's been out for a while now. They did get Rich Rod back, the old standby. Rich Rodriguez back off the PUP list. Other than Dallas Goedert, where are the Eagles at the tight end position right now?
Yeah, I mean, Stoll has taken all the second team reps. Noah Togiai has started to show up as the third team tight end. He's starting to get back in the conversation. He's actually taken advantage of his Denard Wilson opportunity, and he's gotten more reps with Calcaterra out. Best play of the day was Gardner Minshew's shovel pass to Noah Togiai at the goal line, sort of an Andy Reid look that the Eagles have been really bad at since Andy left, and they ran it perfectly. So he's showing up a little bit. Maybe he gets back in the conversation. But, Calcaterra's in the same mold as Devontae Smith, not from importance, but, he tweaked his hamstring. All right, you're sitting until you're 100%, until you're optimal. So, as a 6th-round pick, typically that would be devastating in training camp. I don't know if it is for him. If he can get back in 10 days, and because he looked pretty good early in camp before he got hurt. They don't have depth at tight end. We've talked about it a lot. Jack Stoll is a good blocker, a solid player, but man, he just gives you no threat in the passing game. And you don't want that in 12 personnel because you become a little bit too predictable. It takes a receiver essentially out of the mix, except for an outlet. And it also forces you to, play Dallas Goedert at the flex all the time. And one of the strengths of his game is blocking. And even though it's not sexy, you want to have that ability to move him wherever you want to move him on a particular play. So depth from a tight end perspective is one of the bigger concerns. And we've talked about that quite a bit. And Richard didn't look healthy, by the way.
Play yet? You talk about
now. JJ got hurt too. JJ got hurt. JJ left practice yesterday. Don't know what I did see him after practice, and he was limping a little bit, so I don't think it was heat related. I think it was some kind of leg injury. But yeah, JJ's will probably JJ's probably not going to practice Saturday. I've had to guess. And Saturday we'll find out the actual injury, but he looked like he was limping a little bit.
All right. And I know we're probably taking this further than we need to, but how many guys on the practice squad again? Is the practice
16.
squad? You can have up to 16, and there are veterans allowed. There are no statuses where if you've been in the league for too long, you can't be on the practice squad. So anybody could be on it. 2 max, right? Tight ends. They can't have 3 tight ends. If Stoll is going to be there as your number 2, and he has limitations, as you've correctly pointed out, you'd want to have some backups on the practice squad, because if Stoll is just giving you nothing other than blocking, you might want to give someone else a shot if they haven't really come to a decision by the end of camp. They 2 is the max. Do you think they have 2 tight ends on the practice squad?
Yeah, probably. They probably won't go higher. But we'll see. I mean, with that number, you can do pretty much anything you want. And it might be 14. I have to double check. They might have split the difference. It was 16 in COVID, but I have to double check on that. But I'll do that in the break. Either way, it's a lot of players. You know, you're not going to keep 3 tight ends, though. I mean, it's not. You're going to go heavy on positions of, you know, value and where there might be soft tissue injuries. Wide receiver, you're going to have a couple wide receiver. You're going to have a couple corners. Always defensive backs. There's always a lot of defensive backs because those guys go down like, you know, from a percentage standpoint, much more. So, but yeah, I could see him keeping 2 tight ends. But you know, they already have a bunch of bodies at tight end. You know, you want better bodies so you can actually play them.
Right.
That's the bigger issue.
They will be scouring the waiver wire, but I'm just intrigued because no one has jumped up and said, "Oh, I'm making a team," or if you can't find spot for you, I know I'm making a practice squad. They're all kind of in that gray area middle. That's why you can't differentiate, and you need to know how many you think they would keep. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Joining us next, one Martin Frank from the Delaware News Journal. We'll talk to Martin here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
The glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, 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 and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
A Football Friday here on Birds 365. You got McMullen, McDonald, and our bud from down in Delaware. Martin Frank jumps aboard here with us on Birds 365. Martin, how badly was McMullen sweating yesterday?
Oh man, not any worse than anybody else.
Yeah, that's one where you don't even feel bad. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. I said, take a look at Nick Sirianni's shirt. He's got his poor kids up with him on his lap. He's sweating pretty badly. It was one of those days. It was oppressive, but it's good to see Martin. It's been a long time, Martin.
Yeah.
Couple interesting tweaks. I guess we'll start there. By the way, Jody, practice squad is 16-6 veterans. So just a little bookkeeping there. Couple interesting tweaks, I thought. Josiah Scott, I'll start there, was taking second team safety reps, which kind of jumped out at me. And poor Jaquaski Tart is down on the third team. Meaningful, just one of those things they're rotating on a hot day. Or are they trying to find spots for Josiah Scott and Kerry Vincent? What do you think is going on in that defensive backfield?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I noticed Tart running with the third team a little bit, and I'm thinking, is it possible that he might not make the team? I mean, at this point, it means pretty much nothing. Maybe they just want to see Josiah Scott as a safety. They like to have all these guys be interchangeable. You play like either nickel, safety, maybe even on the outside if necessary. So it might be just, giving them a look there. I mean, I was actually counting this. They have 12 cornerbacks on the roster.
They got to take advantage of their 2 reps, Martin.
Exactly. So if you got 12 cornerbacks on the roster, 4 of those spots are definitely taken with, Bradbury, Slay, Avonte Maddox, and Zach Pearson. So you got basically, I'm trying to do the math here, 12 minus.
Yes.
Yeah.
8 guys for maybe 2 spots.
Yeah, exactly. So, you got to try people pretty much at every different position and see what you got.
That's a lot of math that the coaching staff has to do. Might be over the Birds 365 heads here. But it's a very legitimate question because they have as much depth as they have at that position. And, oh, by the way, they're going to get more of a pass rush this year than they did last year, one man's prediction and opinion, which means there might be a couple of balls up for grabs this year. How big a part of that is going to be the Eagles safety? We know Bradbury's come in and wowed people with the way that he's played, with the depth guys, with the last 2 guys that are going to make the team. How much of is it going to be based on playmaking ability, big playmaking ability, just doing what they have to do at their position? How do you think they are going to come up with who's going to get those last 2 corner spots?
I think it's the preseason games are pretty much going to tell you everything. I don't think you're going to get, you might get some of the details for the back of the roster guys during the training camp practices. But when you look at the 3 preseason games, I don't think you're going to see very many starters playing any, if at all, during those 3 games. So that's basically a tryout for all those guys. Even on offense, you're not going to see Jalen Hurts. You might see Gardner Minshew the first game, but those guys aren't going to play. It's going to be Reed Sinnett and Carson Strong battling for the number 3 spot.
This Eagles preseason football is going to be ugly, Mark.
Yeah,
this
is the chance for all those guys. That's what the Eagles use the preseason games for now. It's not to get guys ready for the season opener. It's to get guys, to look at the back of their roster and figure out who's going to make the team.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. To look around the rest of the league. Did you see any of the Hall of Fame game, Martin? Did you tune in? Josh McDaniels is this is the Super Bowl, baby. I'm going to win this game. He's got Josh Jacobs out there. he's playing them like a normal game. He really wanted to win that game. What do you think of the sentiment of somebody like that versus what you just explained, which is correct in how the Eagles handle things?
Well, first of all, like I had a dentist appointment last night, so I couldn't watch any.
Well, you missed it.
And I think I was better off. No, I didn't really have a dentist appointment.
Barn burner. You missed it.
Yeah.
Dandy, Martin. Yeah.
But, I saw like who Doug Peterson wasn't playing for Jacksonville, which is pretty much everybody. And I think a lot of teams are taking that approach. I mean, the Eagles did it last year. They had the practice sessions last year with the Jets, and they held everybody out of the game because that was their game. And the Eagles are doing that twice this year. They're doing it when they play Cleveland preseason week number 2, and they're doing it the next week in Miami against the Dolphins in preseason week number 3. So that's going to be the game for Jalen Hurts, the starting offense, A.J. Brown, the defense. The games, the actual preseason games, that's where you're going to get the tryout guys. That's where you're going to get, like, where they're going to try to figure out who's going to make the 53-man roster among all the guys in the bubble. So I think more teams are actually going to take that approach than what the Raiders did last night. I mean, it's great that they played Josh Jacobs, but, what happens if he, like, sprains an ankle?
Yeah. They played their entire offensive line. They played a lot of their starters. It was kind of weird. Especially because you have the extra preseason game with the Hall of Fame game.
Right. So they still have their whole slot of 3. I don't know why they did that, but I don't think many teams are going to take that approach anymore.
All right. Martin, I want to bring it back to the Birds and your quarterback scouting. We said it here on Birds 365 all off season. One of the things that Jalen Hurts had to be improved in, and you could make the realistic jump that he could do something like that second year as a starter after first full year as the starter for the Eagles. He needed to be able to get the ball out quicker and precisely and accurately. If that is accurate, the assessment that it needs to be improved, have you seen that yet in camp?
Yes and no. I mean, it all depends on like what they're working on that particular day, but like there have been days where he's on target, where he's getting the ball out pretty quickly. There are also days where he's running to his left, trying to throw back across his body and getting intercepted. I mean, we saw that once. There are times when he's holding the ball too long and probably would have been, the whistle's blown dead for a phantom sack and everything. But I mean, that's the stuff that he's working on. I mean, we're there watching it, but we don't know the context of what the play is designed for. Is it designed for him to work on his checkdowns if his top guy's not open, if A.J. Brown's not open, for example, instead of running, is he looking for his check down to like Quez Watkins or Dallas Goedert over in the middle? And then is he just taking off like he would, maybe in a regular season game if he sees a hole? I mean, there's all these things that we're there watching, but we don't actually know in the context of what they're trying to accomplish on that particular play. But, from what I've seen, like he's actually looked pretty good throwing the ball, for the most part. I mean, yesterday was wasn't a great practice for him. We saw him throw like some balls away. We saw him just like, when nothing was open, kind of take off. But then at the same time, Devontae Smith didn't practice because he's got a groin injury. Zach Pascal was held out of team drills. Greg Ward's not practicing. So, and it was also brutally hot. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell from these preseason games. I mean, we probably won't. I mean, preseason practices, we probably won't get a good feel for that until they actually practice with the Browns and the Dolphins, because then they'll be going against the number one defenses for both those teams, and they're going to be trying to make some plays and all that. I mean, I think that's when we're going to get a real indication of how much Jalen Hurts has improved, because we're obviously not going to get it in the preseason game. So those practices are pretty much going to be the games for him.
Yeah, and I think the bigger issue yesterday, Martin, was no Jordan Mailata, no Andre Dillard. So you had LaRaven Clark against the Eagles' first team defense. And the only thing hotter than the weather was the Eagles' pass rush. I mean, they were all over Jalen Hurts. But I do want to bring up those receivers, and obviously Devontae, he was out there. So that's a pretty clear indication it's not that serious. They wouldn't let him out on the field if it were serious. But Jalen Reagor's gotten an opportunity over the last 2 practices to get some first-team reps. Dare I say, he's been pretty good, Martin. He's been making a play here and there. Fool's gold. What do we got with Jalen Reagor?
Yeah, it's funny because like he was kind of like the star of camp last year with the one-handed grabs.
OBJ last year.
Exactly. He did that, was against the Patriots in one of the practices last year. And like you mentioned, on Tuesday, he got behind 2 defensive backs, caught a deep ball from Hurts, made a sliding catch, when Hurts was scrambling on another play. He didn't really do all that much yesterday, even though he
beat Bradbury in one-on-ones. That was impressive because Bradbury has been tremendous. He's he's talented, but can you trust him? He's already gotten into social media kerfuffles. Who's going to attack John Clark? I mean, John Clark's the nicest guy in the world. He's not going to rip anybody.
He ripped Jalen though.
Did he?
He ripped him or
He just said he dropped a pass, which he did. It was factual. That was sort of like Miles getting upset at the guys who said he was taking second team reps. Well, you were taking second team reps. Doesn't mean you're the second team running back, but it's factual.
Yeah.
My bigger concern is, and Brandon Graham talked about this a little bit, and he even used the word maturity. If you're in a public setting and obviously people are very passionate, and you can't handle social media, you should probably dump the social media.
Yeah.
Is that where we are with Jalen Reagor?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we've been there for a while. He kind of posted a response to John Clark and then it quickly came down and I mean, he's got.
We had the over under on 1 hour. I think it was right around there.
Yeah, I take the under on that. It was pretty quick. But I mean, he's got to just focus on his job and everything. I mean, he can't get all caught up in, what John Clark is tweeting of all people. What other people are tweeting. He just needs to focus on his job. And I think you mentioned earlier about Reagor, he's not going to be Justin Jefferson. And the Eagles, I think they realize that. I think they've moved on from that possibility. They went out and got A.J. Brown. They're using Quez Watkins. I mean, Nick Sirianni after the season even went to say that, Quez Watkins could be like the best number 2 wide receiver in the league. He's got that potential. So, obviously, Jalen Reagor is behind Quez Watkins too, and they went out and got Zach Pascal, who was Sirianni's guy in Indianapolis. So he might even be behind Zach Pascal, for all we know. So the expectations for Reagor are obviously lower than they have been, and maybe that works for him. I mean, maybe that's kind of like what people have to accept, that he's not going to be Justin Jefferson, but if you need him, he can make a play for you. And, from what we've seen, he can make a play. He's just not going to get very many chances to do that. Not as many as, they expected when they drafted him.
All right, Martin, let me ask you about a guy whose name you just threw out there. Zach is back. Pascal gets onto the field for the first time here in camp. I had food poisoning once, and it was probably 25 years ago. And I got to be honest, the first 12 hours are like, you want to die. You just are so ill and it's so bad. And then you get over it. Then you're okay about a day later and you're perfectly fine. He's been out for like a week.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Zach Pascal, the coach's favorite player?
Yeah, I don't know. They have all these things now, like you have to have load levels, you have to be certain hydration area. And maybe, you do lose a lot of hydration when you've got like, food poisoning and everything. And maybe
you
just
need clear, you need clear, what, Jody? You can't get on the field unless it's clear.
Really? They check that every day?
Well,
oh yeah.
They used to do it with Chip. I don't know. I don't get into those questions.
I think like the best example I always remember is Michael Kendricks one day. We went up to him after practice, like, why weren't you practicing? And he kept saying, load levels. I'm like, what is that? He just kept saying load levels. Yeah, they measure all that stuff. And maybe you have to pass a certain threshold or whatever. And maybe Zach Pascal, hey, he's a veteran, ease his way into camp. I mean, Asante Samuel, when he was with the Eagles, like he would always have a hamstring injury for a week during camp,
yeah, you got to be cautious.
Zach Pascal is Asante Samuel, but
he might be in Nick's mind. He might be in Nick's mind. Another sort of eye-opening aspect to me is Kenny Gainwell has been pretty consistently the goal line back. I was expecting him to be the third down back, the hurry up back, but not the goal line back. And he was pretty successful last year and I guess I get why they're thinking that, but he hasn't been successful at it in practice. And it is just practice.
Right.
Is it more like Jalen Hurts is the actual goal line back when it comes to it with the Eagles offense? Because if I need 1 yard on 4th and 1, I'm not giving the ball to Kenny Gainwell.
No. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 10 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
If it's 4th and 1, you got to account. If you're a defense, you have to account for him. So whether he's sneaking up the middle, whether he's rolling out, I mean, you have to have a defender spying him. And if they do that, then he can throw it in the end zone, obviously. But I think Jalen Hurts is their pretty much their best weapon, like, at the goal line and everything. I mean, you have to account for him. That makes everybody better too, because, not that he did, but you could hand it off to Miles Sanders. You could throw it. I mean, Sanders didn't score any touchdowns last year, but Jalen.
No, it's interesting to me they don't consider Miles a goal line back, and either do I. But I wouldn't consider Kenny Gainwell a goal line back either. Now, Boston Scott, despite his lack of height, he's very powerful. He's a power lifter. He would make more sense to me. But then we start talking about no Jordan Howard. Do they need that big back presence? Is that important?
I don't know. It depends what they do at tight end. I mean, they could always use one of those guys. In their jumbo package or whatever. It just depends. I mean, Hurts is you say what you want about him as a passer and his accuracy and all that, but the guy's a weapon as a runner, and he's not afraid to take it up the middle. He's not afraid of contact, and he might just be their best weapon, on 3rd and short, 4th and short, running the ball up the middle if they need to get 2 yards. I mean, he might be their best guy. I mean, he probably is. So why not use him?
Let me stick with the goal line. Both you guys correctly pointed out, as Johnny likes to say, facts are facts. Miles had no touchdowns last year. But the year before, he had 6. Last year of Doug Peterson's offense, so it's not like he's completely incapable of getting touchdowns. He got 6 the year before on the ground. Miles got a little nose bent out of shape the other day when correctly, again, facts were stated that he was running with the second team. At what point does Miles get perturbed by his usage in this offense? We all expect him to have less carries per game than he used to because the Eagles are going to throw the ball more. They don't think he's an option down by the goal line. He's singing for his supper this year, trying to get himself his best contract that he can, be it from the Eagles or anyone else. Will Miles speak out if he doesn't like the way he's being used?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, Jody. I mean, Miles is playing for his next contract. I mean, the Eagles probably aren't going to give him an extension, and he probably won't accept one because, you know, he wants to rush for like 1,300 yards. He wants to get like 10 million a year and everything like that. And I don't think the Eagles are going to pay that, but somebody will. So, yeah, I mean, if he's not getting like 20, 25 touches a game, he's going to be quite upset. And I wouldn't be surprised if he would express that kind of frustration publicly if there's a trend developing with that. So, yeah, I mean, Miles wants to get the ball. The Eagles want him to get the ball. I mean, if Miles has a great season and gets like 1,200 yards rushing, the Eagles are going to go places this year. It might price him out of coming back next year, but it's going to help him this year.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles realize that. So, yeah, I mean, if Miles is – I mean, we won't see that in preseason, obviously, because I think Miles also wants to make sure he's healthy for the season because that has been an issue as well. So, you know, I don't think he'll make any kind of waves during the preseason. So, like that day when he was kind of spouting off about being with the second team, that wasn't really – I mean, I don't think there was anything to that. I mean, I kind of agree with Sirianni. It's just how the rotation goes. I've seen him run with the second team before. It wasn't anything new.
All right. Happy Friday, Martin Frank. And that is a clear indication we are going to shift to the defensive side of the ball, because that's a little JG greeting. Happy whatever day. But, boy, this defense looks deep and talented and versatile. The front, they can use different looks. Yeah, they have so many options. The linebackers, for the first time in forever, were like Nakobe Dean. Everybody's like, Nakobe Dean. He can't even get on the field because TJ is so good. And Davion Taylor's been so good. And Kaiser White has been solid. The cornerbacks have been unbelievable. Darius Slay probably has a little bit of trouble with A.J. Brown's size, but that's understandable. Everybody has trouble with his size. Marcus Epps has looked solid. Anthony Harris is okay. He's just there, but he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing.
Yep.
This defense has got a chance to be really good, or am I overstating things, Martin?
I don't think you're overstating things. I mean, you know, if they're getting pressure, I mean, all of it depends on the defensive line. If they're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's going to make the linebackers better. That's going to make the cornerbacks better and the safeties better. So, you know, a lot of it, you know, one guy you did mention is Brandon Graham, who's looked really good.
Wow, he's looked unbelievable.
Coming off the Achilles injury. Yeah. I think, who was it the other day saying, like, you can't even tell Tracy Rocker, defensive line coach, like, you can't even tell he ever had an injury. I mean, you know, he's been running with the second unit a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, Miles Sanders, he's not really Brandon Graham's not making waves about that. So yeah, I mean, like from what we've seen, the defense has been great. And, you know, they're obviously playing against the Eagles, so we haven't seen them like in a real competition or anything like that. But I mean, you know, there's a potential there. That defense being really good, and it's all based on the defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback, because I think that kind of like is the catalyst for everything else. I mean, the linebackers looking better as well as the defensive backs. So, you know, Hassan Reddick, I mean, if he's in the backfield, if he's chasing down, like I saw him yesterday, they did a handoff to Miles Sanders to the outside, you know, kind of like a sweep, and Hassan Reddick chased him down. Like,
yeah,
you know, like closing speed was incredible. I mean, obviously they're not tackling, but, you know, that's the kind of potential he brings, you know, and he can get after the quarterback. I'm kind of a little bit worried if they have him dropping into coverage too often, but, you know, maybe he can do that. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, like, because this defense definitely has a lot of potential to be really good this year.
All right, between the two, you ran out there about 7 or 8 or 9 names of guys who've looked good so far on the Eagle defense this spring. Neither one of you got around to the highest paid guy on the Eagles defense. Fletcher Cox, living the veteran life, not worried about it, not putting in all that much effort, days off, or is Fletcher flashed? They gave him $14 million this offseason. They should have some expectation for him. Have you seen anything out of Fletcher Cox?
Not a whole lot, but I think like the thing with Fletcher Cox is you got Jordan Davis now. Like if Fletcher Cox is not playing well, if he's unhappy with the fact that Jonathan Gannon's making him play screens, well, Jordan Davis is going to play more. Jordan Davis has been, from what I've seen, he's been pretty much unbelievable, unstoppable. And he's like such a massive presence there in the middle. I mean,
it's weird looking. I think,
John, you and I were talking about this, like, you know, when you're watching from up on the grandstands and you see him line up over Jason Kelsey from that vantage point, like he totally engulfs Jason Kelsey. You can't even see Kelsey.
It's like an eclipse. Yeah. You can't even, you don't even know he's there. You say, who's the first team center? I don't know. I can't see him.
Yeah. So like, unlike past years, I mean, you know, Fletcher Cox wasn't playing well. The Eagles were in pretty much big trouble, but now, like, you know, Jordan Davis, I think, is going to play, and he's going to play a lot, even as a rookie. And then, you know, next year, I mean, both Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave, they're in the last years of the contract, and I think one of them, at least one of them, is not coming back. So, you know, Davis is going to be a force for many years, and I think we're going to see some of that this year. That's why I don't think there's like, you know, Fletcher Cox has been all right, but you know, if he's not playing well, then Jordan Davis will play more.
All right, I'll end it there since we're doing the defensive line with you, Martin. Everybody follow Martin on Twitter at mfranknfl. You can read him, DelawareOnline.com. Does a tremendous job covering this team, and he's a good Michigan man, unlike those shady Stephen Ross and Tom Brady. But
is there such a thing as a good Michigan man?
Hey.
Don't
tell me you went to Ohio State.
Yeah. One of the Eagles interns went to Ohio State. What's her name? I'm bad with names. I feel bad.
Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla, the Eagles intern, went to Ohio State. So we had a little headbutting between the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. But defensive line, you mentioned Brandon Graham a little bit earlier, how good he's looked, Fletcher. You know, Brandon's a guy specifically, he seems to have accepted the fact he's 34 and he's going to have a lesser role. But, you know, if he plays like Brandon Graham, how the heck are you taking him off the field? You know, coaches always say it's a good problem to have. But, you know, how do you get reps for Brandon Graham and Milton Williams, who's a good young player, when you're that deep? Is that something that could be sort of an unintended consequence problem?
Yeah, but it's not a bad unintended consequence. I mean, he is 34 years old, so he's not going to, I mean, ideally you don't want him playing like 75, 80% of the snaps like he has in the past. You know, and you got Josh Sweat and you got Derek Barnett. I mean, say what you will about Barnett, as long as he's not being flagged for, you know, unnecessary roughness and late hit on the quarterback and all that. I mean, those guys have value, and those guys are younger, and they're going to get a chance. And like even Teron Jackson has looked pretty good in camp so far. He might get some snaps here and there. I think for the Eagles, it is a good problem to have, because you don't want Brandon Graham like totally burning himself out and everything. You want it, and it's actually the same thing with Fletcher Cox. I mean, you want them to play, but you want them to play where they can maximize what they have. So like, if Fletcher Cox is playing more in like obvious passing situations, well, then he doesn't have to read, you know, what the offense is doing, and he doesn't have to drop back, you know, cover someone on a screen or whatever. He can just attack. And when Fletcher Cox is attacking, that's when he's at his best. And it's kind of like the same thing with Brandon Graham. If he's playing like 50% of the snaps, you know, those 50%, he's, you know, at full strength. He's not tiring out. He's not wearing down and everything. So I think that's kind of like what they want. I mean, they want to have those guys at their best. And the best way to do that, especially at their age, is to kind of like give them a break here and there. And if they have guys who are capable of filling in when they're not in, which the Eagles do in this case, then that makes them all better. So I think it's a good problem to have in that case.
All right, last question, kind of following up where we were just at. 2 out of 3. 3 guys to look at. Only 2 get activated week 1. The Johnson brothers or Derek Barnett. If they go with 7 outside linebackers / defensive ends, who's sitting week 1? If we assume all of them make the 53, but only 2 are going to be activated opening week against the Lions out of the 2 Johnsons and Derek Barnett, which one's DNP coach's decision?
I'm going with Patrick Johnson as the DNP coach's decision. I think they like Kyron Johnson, A, because he's kind of like Hassan Reddick mold, and B, because he's supposed to be the special teams like
demon. Yeah,
basically. So
I think it's about special teams at that point.
Yeah.
So Martin,
in that case, if there's a tie,
Derek B not going to play special teams. They're not going to ask Mr.
No,
Barnett
but Derek's
to play special teams.
Derek's going to play defense though. So
yeah.
Unfortunately for Jody McDonald, he's going to be out there playing defense.
Not unfortunately for me. It'd be unfortunately for the Eagles when he jumps offside on a 3rd and 4.
He did jump offsides yesterday. Was that Brandon? Brandon jumped offsides. Did Derek jump offsides yesterday? That might have been Tuesday.
I don't remember. Yeah. I
There was
wouldn't be
one.
surprised if he did, but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It's always him, Martin. It's always him.
Always him.
always him.
That's a meme that the coach will never be able to get away from. We always appreciate when you jump on board with us, Martin. I hope next week it's not as hot as it was yesterday. And if it is as hot as it was yesterday, I hope you don't have to stand next to John.
Yeah, Martin tries to avoid me at all costs. It's very difficult since we sit next to each other in the media house, but he tries.
Yeah, smart man. Martin, always a pleasure. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you again.
Thanks,
Read him on online Delaware News Journal. And whenever he jumps aboard with us here on Birds 365, Martin Frank brings strong opinions. All right, we'll come back with more opinions. I've got to run some league stuff by Johnny Mac because looks like Roger Goodell is not going to make the decision on Deshaun Watson. He's going to designate someone else to make the decision. Wink, wink, nod, nod. We'll come back and discuss that. More Eagles stuff. And only about 25 minutes from now, we're going to have a special guest. You should recognize the name. Mike Missinelli will jump aboard with us here on Birds 365. If you don't know, shame on you. Mike will be part of the Eagles post-game show here on JAKIB Sports on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Mikey Miss going to be here with us on JAKIB Sports and also with us here on Birds 365 less than 25 minutes from now, so keep it right here.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit. Glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, 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 and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Yeah, okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of stateside vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Appreciate you streaming in with us here on a Football Friday on Birds 365. Since it is a Friday, you know we are just 1 week away from the first preseason game. A tradition unlike any other.
Yeah.
The Jets and Eagles first game of the year. No. They're supposed to play the last game. They screwed it up this year. Anyway, Jets, Eagles, first preseason game will be 1 week from today. And Johnny Mack will be there all week in practice as the Eagles get ready. Couple of Eagle things before I do ask you about where the NFL and Deshaun Watson are headed. Jaquiski Tart, again, sticking to facts, not opinions here, just facts. Oh, we'll give you opinions too, but start with the facts. He was actually taking third-team safety reps yesterday, much like the Miles Sanders taking the second-team running back reps. Just facts, Miles. Sorry about that. Jaquiski Tart down to third team, being replaced by a cornerback, no less. John McMullen, give us the details and what do you think it means?
I think it means the Eagles want to keep both Josiah Scott and Kerry Vincent Jr. And to do that, they're probably going to have to figure out if one of them can play safety. So I think that's what they're trying to do with Josiah Scott. And yeah, I don't think it's a good sign for Jaquiski Tart, because the Eagles have made this big sort of I wouldn't say big, but they explained, he got here late, which is true. Different terminology. Remember, he's played a lot of football on a good defense in San Francisco. So the terminology part is real and all that. But again, I go back to last year with Steve Nelson, 2 days before camp, first practice, starting corner opposite Darius Slay. Now, part of it is because they didn't have any other options. They talked up Zach McPherson, but a rookie 4th-round pick at corner in the NFL, good luck with that. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. But I did think Zach would probably start in camp as the number, and they'd slowly work Steve Nelson in. Nope. Day one. So they're not adverse to putting somebody out there, and certainly not in practice. So I do think it says something about Tart. He's a Band-Aid. He's an insurance policy. And if one of these young players jumps up and wins that job, we were talking about it, could Anthony Harris or Tart be cut if Kayvon Wallace, won the starting job, which isn't going to happen. But and I said, it's a possibility. Well, now everybody's starting to realize there's no guarantee at all Jaquiski Tart is going to be on this team. Marcus Epps is going to be on this team. Anthony Harris is going to be on this team. Other than that, at safety, it might be Satcheray because of the special teams ability. It might be Kayvon Wallace because of the pedigree and the draft pick and all that. It might be Tart because he starts to catch on and they feel more comfortable with him. Or it might be Josiah Scott. So it's that backup safety position is getting a little bit more interesting.
You've certainly put Harris ahead of Tart in the pecking order as of right now. They got very similar contracts, as a matter of fact. I remember a little bit of a lag, about a week before we found out exactly what Jaquaski Tart's contract was. And oh, by the way, I'll apologize to him ahead of time. I've been known to botch names. Every once in a while, I say Alex Bohm on the air, and man, do I get crushed. I know it's Alec. I just said Alex. I apologize. And it looks like Jaquiski Tart to me, but Johnny Mac tells me it's Jaquaski Tart. So I'll apologize to him in advance if I butcher his name from time to time. I'll try not to. But he might get butchered as in cut. From the Eagles, as Johnny Mac is saying, has Anthony Harris been that much better than him just because he's been part of the system for a year? They basically comped the two up when they gave him almost identical contracts this offseason. Harris got his a lot sooner than Tart did, but what makes you say that Tart right now is as close to the cutting room floor as he is to actually getting meaningful reps for the Eagles as compared to Harris, who you're saying is probably in the starting lineup?
Well, I mean, Harris has taken every first team rep when he's healthy. He was ramping up from COVID. They had Kayvon Wallace when he wasn't in team drills, but every day when he's been in team drills, he's taken every single first team rep. So, and the other guys on the third team. So, I mean, that obviously has a history of Jonathan Gannon as well. He's been here longer. He was once a very good player. I think people forget that. He was actually at the height of his career. He was actually the better player when measured against Jaquaski Tart, former NFL interception leader. He once got the franchise tag. He's in the Pro Bowl. He was a good player. Now, he's not that player now, but the Eagles trust him. And look, it was a surprise to me that they picked Anthony Harris over Rodney McLeod. I thought Rodney's history in Philadelphia's importance to the community would give him the advantage. No, they like Anthony Harris. And the fact that they got him at a cheap price tag is a little bit better. But, yeah, I mean, when you see one guy take every single first-team rep and the other guy's getting knocked from the second team to the third team for a backup slot corner, that's a concern for me. Now, that probably is more of, all right, we want to see Scott. We want to see what Scott can do in this particular position. But, I mean, if you're Jaquaski Tart, you should say, oh, this might be a little bit tougher than I thought when I was coming in here.
He got his work cut out for him just to make the Eagle roster. And, oh, by the way, and I forget who it is, I apologize. We have our streamers who comment on the show day in and day out, and they do a nice job. They converse with each other more than they converse with us, which is perfectly fine because you and I are going to bat it back and forth more than anything else. We had one streamer who didn't like the fact that I was surprised by the fact that they signed Jaquaski Tart and said he was the best Eagles safety by far. When they signed Tart, he became the best Eagles safety. And neither you nor I agreed with that because we knew how much the Eagles had warmed to Marcus Epps as their number one safety. But
yeah, I'm not going to get my apology. I don't know. I never get apologies, Jody.
Keep checking on this. I should have written it down or mentally noted it because he wasn't happy with us that we weren't given Jaquiski.
Hey, maybe the Eagles are misevaluating everything, but right now he is, as of yesterday, he is fifth on the depth chart at safety. And
the thing for me was, for the amount of money that he got paid by the Eagles, he was the starter for San Francisco, and they had gone to the championship game 2 out of the last 3 years, and they weren't even willing to come up with what the Eagles put on the table, which wasn't a whole hell of a lot. That tells me San Francisco had moved on from him, and a very good defense said, no, we need to be improved here and we need to be better than Mr. Tart. that wasn't a good sign. And so far in camp, it hasn't been shown to be anything but that. But we shall see. Still a lot of time left in camp before we get to the Friday opener against the Jets, which John McMullen, will Jalen Hurts take a rep in?
No.
Not one.
No. Not
none.
One.
Zero.
No.
Zilch.
That would be he didn't last year, so why would he this year? Last year he was completely unproven. I mean, completely unproven. And he started 4 games at the end of his rookie year after Carson Wentz went off the rails. He didn't perform that well. You know, he completed 52.5% of his passes. We're all saying, you know, guy needs some reps, and they were treating him like an entrenched starter. Last year, all right, he proved he's a good quarterback. He proved he's a good player. Pro Bowl alternate, took the team to the playoffs. So if they didn't play him last year, why the heck would they play him this year? That's my thought process on that. I guess Jalen Hurts could go in and lobby and say, I want to play a series. I guess that could happen. But I mean, if they didn't play him last year, why are they going to play him this year?
All right. So I kind of agree with you, by the way. Will any guys that we believe should be the Eagles starters week 1 in Detroit, 37 days from now, will any of them will they play at all? Or will all 11 guys, and do you need me to run through them all? If you do, I could tell you.
No,
I think I and all of our streamers know exactly the 11 that I'm talking about. Maybe there's one debate. For me, there really isn't. Will any of them be in the lineup week 1 against the Jets when the preseason gets underway next week?
Some guys got to play. A lot depends on injuries, like the receivers. If all the receivers, if Pascal's out, if Smith is out, if you're not going to play AJ, obviously, you know, you're not going to consider, you know, maybe Quez has to play just from a.
Is Quez the one?
Yeah.
Is he the only one who actually gets into the game?
Maybe. And again, that would be more dependent on how many bodies they have. I think it's how many bodies they have at the particular time is the bigger issue. At certain points, somebody's going to have to play in the preseason.
All right, I guess we're going to have to go through this one by one. A.J. Brown, is he playing?
No.
Devontae Smith, is he playing?
No.
Dallas Goedert, is he playing?
No.
Are any of the 5 starting offensive linemen, and yes, I'm putting at right guard Isaac Seumalo?
No, because they wouldn't want to mess with Isaac's health, even if maybe Landon because he's a young player, but I don't think they want to mess with that either. His health.
0 for 5 on the offensive line. Miles.
No.
And Jalen.
You know, they have no running backs, though. Somebody's got to – you're going to see a lot of Kennedy Brooks and Jason
Kennedy Brooks is getting at least double-digit carries against the Jets.
Yeah.
Double digits.
Jason Huntley's chance to shine, Kennedy Brooks's chance to sign. Yeah, you're not going to see Miles. Jordan Davis you might see on the – I mean, he's a rookie. You might throw him out there.
Right, but the one offensive player that we're agreeing – may actually get a chance to play, probably starting and getting the hell off the field, is Quez. Other than that, 10 out of 11 will not see the field week 1 against the Jets in preseason.
That would be my guess, unless the Eagles completely shift their philosophy. Man, I don't see that happening. So, yeah, I mean, they're not going to play those guys. Yeah.
Now, will they treat defense the same way? I'll give you a flip side guy. Edwards has played phenomenally in camp so far. Johnny Mac's favorite player, most underrated player on the Philadelphia Eagles, has looked great all camp long. Does he not get in the game? Do they protect him week 1?
Oh, that's a good one. You know, he's that guy that might take a series. You know, and a lot of it might be just to test out, you know, different things like communication and things like that. I could see him playing a series, but not much more than that. Just for more logistical matters than anything else, because he's going to be is the green dot most likely.
Is he going to get it?
Well, it's interesting. That's another one. I meant to bring that up with Martin. So 3 players have sort of called the defensive signals in camp. TJ, when TJ's off, Kaiser White, number 2, and then Nakobe with the second.
So it's
third
been a
team.
linebacker no matter what.
Yeah. So I think they're leaning towards TJ. But again, that depends on pass coverage. Can he hold up? That's always been the knock against him. He's been tremendous at it in camp. He's very instinctive. But we know how the NFL reacts. So, yeah, he's an interesting one. I could see him playing a series just to test some things out.
And if you tell me it's definitely going to be a linebacker that's going to be wearing the dots, usually it's a linebacker and or a safety. You and I have both been on the Marcus Epps bandwagon since basically last season ended, and correctly predicted he's going to be a starting safety for the Eagles. I know the season hasn't started yet, but we're looking ahead, and he has been running with the first team all preseason long, all the practice that they had. So I think that's a given now that he's going to start. I would have been surprised if he was able to make that big a leap from a backup position into the guy who wears the green dot. Do you think that is still potentially in the mix if they don't go linebacker, because they're going to be moving linebackers in and out? And I know Nakobe Dean hasn't earned his reps yet. Davion Taylor has flashed more in camp than he has, but the Eagles will probably rotate a bunch of guys at linebacker. I think Edwards is going to be on the field 90% of the time, but maybe not 100. Safety, you can get somebody who's out there basically every single snap. Does that give Marcus Epps any chance to be the guy with the dot on his helmet?
I mean, I would lean towards Anthony Harris more than Marcus, but I don't think the Eagles are going to go that route with safety. And I don't think it's as important as people make it out to be. You're just relaying signals, but Anthony's in charge sort of that defensive backfield, getting everybody lined up anyway. So I would think he would be, and he's going to be an every down player as well, barring injury. So, as a veteran, he would be ahead, but I do think they're going to go with one of the linebackers. And to me, it comes down to TJ or Kaiser. That's who it's going to be. Kaiser is going to be out there 100% of the time because of pass coverage ability. And they take TJ off occasionally. Maybe they lean towards Kaiser. But when they're on the field together and they take first team reps together, TJ's doing it. So it's something to watch.
Sounds like he's the leader in the clubhouse. All right, Johnny Mac, former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey is going to decide the fate of one Deshaun Jackson.
What a great state! What a well-run state. Who better to do it?
Exactly.
I live here, so I can rip.
I'm a happy Jersey resident. Yeah. I'll actually tell you that I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe shame on me. I thought that Roger Goodell was just going to come out with the announcement and that was going to be it.
Now he wants no part of it, Jody. He wants no part of it. He wants his name out of it.
He instead is putting a designee in position to make that decision. I think we all know that this individual has worked with the NFL before, been on NFL committees and the like. He's going to come out damn close to exactly what Roger Goodell and the owners want as far as the punishment goes to Deshaun Watson. Does this beard-like naming of the former Attorney General of New Jersey do anything for saving Roger Goodell? Any critique for?
No, absolutely not. In fact, they think of him more as hiding behind the figurehead. So it makes him look worse. This league, I've told you this a bunch of times, when it comes to personal conduct, is a freaking disaster. They have this mentality that they can control the public opinion. You can't. The NFL's got to get to that default setting. I got an email from a lawyer yesterday when the NFL did this. Take a look at this angle. They're pitching, Jody. Sue Robinson had been a federal judge for 25 years. She's a woman, obviously.
There's always a boy named Sue, but if she is a woman, I'll take your word for it.
She is a woman. And she made her decision in a sexual misconduct case with allegations. And they say that's not good enough. And they appoint, as you mentioned, the former Attorney General of New Jersey and this is the email, this is not me, to mansplain a sexual misconduct allegations that a 25-year experienced judge already made a decision on. That's a woman. That you get my point, Jody. You can't control these people. They're trying to control these people. They had this system set up. This is what I was saying on the show. They had this system set up to just lean on it and say, you know what? We don't agree with it, but this is the independent system, and they could have used it, Jody. They were right there. Then you take the week, you take the 10 days of hits, and it all goes away, and everything can move forward. But they can't do it. They can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves. And here they are again, and they're in this situation. And hey, it's been this way for years. It is an absolute cluster, you know what, when it comes to personal conduct in this league.
Here's my two quick takes, and then we got I see Mikey Miss in the green room. Looking forward to talking to him next. Number one, if you don't think 6 games was enough, and you're the commissioner and you're listening to your owners, you have to use the hammer that you got. You built in having the hammer if you believe that Judge Robinson, for whatever reasons, no matter what her or his or anybody else's gender is, if you think that the punishment is too light, you have to react, which is what Roger Goodell did. And yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Passing the buck is weak. Just come out and get it done, Raj. If you're gonna big time Sue Robinson, then be a man and step up and go, yeah, we're deciding to put someone else in place that he's already got a relationship with that's gonna take that was weak. But I don't disagree that the punishment should have been more. I'm mansplaining here if I have to. I just think he deserved more than 6 games. So if I'm Roger Goodell representing the owners, then I got to do what I got to do.
By the way, I'm not giving credence to that push. My only point is you can't control all these machinations, Jody. So the league, has to ignore it. Just like I said with Jalen Reagor, ignore the social media, drop the damn phone, forget about it, and just move forward. And that is the easiest way to handle these types of things.
Coming up next, one of the co-hosts on the Eagles post-game show on the JAKIB YouTube channel this year. You know him, you love him. Mike Missinelli is going to join us next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that. Holy shit.
The glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, 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 and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. Appreciate you jumping aboard with us as we do our next guest. Let's see. Started in print, went to radio, television. Now he'll be streaming his life away with us here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Oh, you've only been listening to him for some way, shape, or form for 30 years. Mike Missinelli comes aboard with us here on Birds 365. It looks like the summer's treating you okay, Missinelli. You got a nice stand working there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the Italian side. I go out in the sun and I get tan, fortunately.
Yeah.
But how you doing, Jody? How you doing, John? You guys
Doing
okay?
well, Mike. You could see, the Irish in my side. You could see I step outside. And,
You're talking to two white Irishmen there, yes, Mikey.
Exactly.
It doesn't take much to out-tan us.
Yeah.
I'm kind of recovering. Jody, you'll love this story. I don't know. Are you still playing basketball occasionally?
A little bit, but not a lot.
All right, so I hadn't played for a really long time, and this friend of mine who has done some handiwork convinced me to come out and play in this 4-on-4 thing. This guy purchased an old small church and he turned it into a small basketball court. So I said, okay, that's the greatest workout ever, as you know. So I started to play. I started to get involved. And the third time I played, I tore a tendon off my foot, which retracted towards my ankle. And so I'm still recovering from this serious foot surgery where I have a cadaver tendon that had to be reconnected to my foot. It was a mess. So that was a message to me that I'm too old to play basketball.
It means keep working on the tan because you'll be any shape to get the good tan. And
I have nothing else to do. I had a boot on my leg for 9 weeks.
Yeah. So where are you mobility wise now, Mike? With the Eagles shut you down for about 8 months.
Well, I'm walking around without the boot now, and I have a small brace on that I can wear with a sneaker or a golf shoe. So I have been. I played golf a couple of times. I'm getting back to it a little at a time, but it's not right yet. So it wasn't something I expected, but you just have to live through these kind of things.
Even with the bum wheel, he's going to be able to give you Eagle opinions aplenty, and we'll do so.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with my mouth, by the way, the foot.
Well understood. All right, Mike, and we got weeks before the season actually gets underway, but then it will. And Jalen Hurts will be the quarterback of the Eagles, and he is the most debated individual sports person in town right now as to how good he's going to be. Will he be the Eagles quarterback going forward? What do you need to see out of Jalen Hurts week one?
I just need to see a little more pocket poise, the ability to stand in there instead of getting his brain to tell him to break out of there. Now, that's beneficial because he does get some really key first downs when he does that. But I just kind of need him to complete some passes. The Eagles have gotten away with running the football, and they did it with kind of a simple formula. And I think it was aided by the schedule a little bit last year. But it's a passing league. I mean, let's face it, he's going to have to be better at that. His numbers weren't good. His rankings weren't good. So they've kind of given him a better platform to do that. And we'll see if it happens. Now, I guess the reports early on aren't that great. So I don't know. This is a wait and see for me. I'm like right in the middle with Jalen Hurts. I don't dislike him, but he hasn't done enough to convince me that I'm comfortable with him leading this team to great heights.
My bigger picture with Jalen Hurts, you know, this organization, Jeffrey Lurie believes, and as you said, this is a passing league, and he wants to have a high octane passing offense. But there are other ways to win. And, you know, most recently, the San Francisco 49ers probably point that out. They got to a Super Bowl. They probably should have won that Super Bowl. They kind of lost it late. They nearly got back to another Super Bowl. And Jimmy Garoppolo is not good. They have a smaller margin of error, but they managed to get to where they got with that smaller margin of error. Are the Eagles doing a disservice to Jalen Hurts by saying, go become a pocket passer instead of building around him like the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar Jackson? In other words, you know, fine, go get the pocket passer if you can get the pocket passer. But when you have the unique skill set, build around the unique skill set.
You know, it's a good point. I don't. First of all, I think that teams that win the way the 49ers won are more the exception than the rule.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it can work. I get it. But I didn't think the Eagles asked him to be a pocket passer last year. I think they asked him at first, and then they realized that wasn't going to work. It wasn't the best thing they do. So they went in another direction. Now, whether they're going to evolve, Frank Sirianni is, or Nick Sirianni is a passing coach. And I think that he wants to see Jalen Hurts be that kind of guy. So I don't think they're going to follow the same script. I think getting A.J. Brown is an indication that they want to be more diversified throwing the football. So we'll see what happens.
Mike, I want to get your opinion on another guy who's going to get a lot of attention this year from Eagle fans. And I want to see if that attention is going to rise to the level of former standouts on their side of the ball. I'm talking about Jordan Davis on the defensive line with the Eagles. The Eagle beloved defensive lineman, and you've been around and following his team for long enough that you know what Reggie White meant to the Eagle defense and Eagle fans. And Jeremiah Trotter and Brian Dawkins, all-time great, all-time most popular Eagle defensive guys, put up plays that you could record as stats. Sacks, big-time hits, interceptions, and the like. Jordan Davis isn't going to be a stat guy, but he's got a chance to be a dominant guy. Will the Eagle fans acknowledge what Jordan Davis does, even if it doesn't add up as far as tackles or sacks or hits that you're going to see on ESPN for 3 weeks thereafter? They went up to get him in the first round. They think he's going to be a dynamite player. Will Eagle fans understand the kind of contribution that Jordan Davis is going to make to the Eagles?
Yeah, I think they will. I think Eagle fans are pretty smart to see a guy play at a certain level, whatever. You know, even if he's not getting to the passer, whether he can block things down in there. And I think he's going to do that. I think the rotation, listen, they really did a good job improving positions that they needed to improve on defense. And the only question now is whether Jonathan Gannon is going to be able to utilize him. I mean, I don't know from Jonathan Gannon either. He's like in the Hurts category. I have to see a little more on how he's going to utilize these guys now that he's got better talent. There are a lot of people that are down on him. Listen, he's got a pretty good linebacker core now. He's very versatile in that position. That was lacking a lot. He's got rotation players on the defensive end. But Hassan Reddick's going to make a big difference there, however they choose to play him. So I think it's more Gannon, and Jordan Davis will find his way. I mean, he's a good player, and he's going to suffer rookie mistakes, obviously. But I think Eagle fans will realize that if you have a stout guy in the middle who can stop people or block offensive linemen and keep them in a position, they'll like it. They'll like that. He doesn't have to be Jerome Brown. But he could be somebody that they latch on to.
Mike, this team you mentioned has done. Howie had a good offseason. I mean, you got to give him credit for filling the obvious needs on this particular team. On paper, I always say from 2 to 53, they look pretty good. You don't know about the quarterback, but they look pretty good when you compare them to the rest of the league from a roster standpoint. So take Jalen Hurts out of the conversation for a minute. What would be your biggest concern about this team outside of the obvious, and whether they can take that next step as that passing offense?
I keep going. I can't take Jalen Hurts out of the equation because to me he's the whole thing. It's almost like saying like how good are the Sixers going to be?
So are they a so? Well, then I'll go this way with you. Are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender if Jalen Hurts can be a top 10 quarterback in this league?
I think they're a little short of that. A legitimate Super Bowl contender. I think they can be a legit playoff team. I'm not sure I'm willing to commit to that they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of new players have to really get adjusted. I don't see teams that throw a bunch of good new players in there and blend right away. But listen, their cornerbacks were shaky, and they got Bradbury, who's I thought a tremendous asset. They've got one weak safety position, depending on how he's going to use his linebackers. I think they can cover these linebackers that he's got out there. So I think that's going to help. There are two formulas here. Either their defense is going to be good enough to get away with Jalen Hurts just playing like an average quarterback, or Jalen Hurts is going to have to take a step up. And I don't know where to go yet until I see that. Man, and another factor is Miles Sanders. Like, he's a Penn State guy. He's a man after my own heart. But like Miles Sanders, I think, thinks he's a lot better than he really is, and that bothers me. Yeah. He hasn't been a guy that you can rely on to catch the ball out of the backfield. He seems to be wounded when people don't think he's a great player. To me, he's a key as well. He's got to deliver for them, but he's got to catch the ball out of the backfield, which will help Jalen Hurts a lot. And I don't know if he has that.
You beat me to my question. I was going to say the unabashed Penn State fan Mike is not afraid to call the players out. He always backs the university, but if the players don't live up to reputations, he's not afraid to put them on blast if necessary. And yeah, Miles a little whiny this preseason, running with the second team reps, got annoyed, got bent out of shape. I mentioned this with John and Martin Frank. We had him on earlier. They don't ever use him down by the goal line. They didn't last year. They're not using him in practice this year. He's playing for a contract this year, and he's not going to get any touchdowns again. 2 years running with no touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point.
The ball this year.
That's a great point. He's not reliable enough in those kind of situations. Then what really is? He reminds me a lot of Brooks Koepka in that, like, Brooks Koepka is always whining about not getting respect. And he's a good golfer, but he's not Jack Nicklaus. And Miles Sanders talks about himself like he's Barry Sanders sometimes. So I don't know. He's a key for me as well. Now, they've got a decent rotation at running back, but if you can't use your main guy in certain situations, or you're afraid to throw the football to him on third down.
Well, yeah, 4. I mean, well, Mike, think about this. So Miles is the lead back. Nick Sirianni went out of his way to say that. He had his kids up there with him yesterday and said, his one son, he was asked to compare his children to players. And he compared his one son to Miles Sanders. Then it was TJ Edwards. Then it was Darius Slay for his daughter because she's got the big personality. And I said, well, those players should be comfortable. But I think about Miles Sanders. People always say what you just said. He's got to catch the ball better. Well, Kenny Gainwell's the third down back. Kenny Gainwell's the hurry up back. Kenny Gainwell is the goal line back, which I don't agree with even a little bit. Where the heck is Miles Sanders going to catch the ball? In the situations you want the running back to catch the football, they're projecting Kenny Gainwell to be on the field.
Well, that means they've bailed out on Miles Sanders, which is unfortunate. But he doesn't seem to understand that. Like, he doesn't understand that he has to improve that part of his game, and maybe they wouldn't do that. So, I guess they could be successful doing it that way. I would like my lead back to be like a Westbrook, like to be a versatile guy that you wouldn't have to worry about with rotations and such. So to me, it's a key. And the other thing about Jalen Hurts, I'm probably the only one that's ever made this observation. He almost appears too serious for me. Like he's so stoic and he's so within himself. Like I would just like to see him loosen up a little bit, and maybe that would somehow give him more daring when he's out there to make that 3rd and 7 zip completion. But he's always, he's so serious. I don't know. Maybe that's not a factor.
He dances at practice. He's not serious. He's serious in front of us. So in press conference, he's just he's a flat line, just straight flat line. But he has fun in practice with the guys. He's dancing.
I just see him have fun in a game where he has that kind of dancing attitude and go, you know what, that 3rd and 7, that's not that hard of a throw. Boom, do it. But he seems just so within himself.
Interesting. Mike Missinelli here with us on Birds 365. All right, Mikey. You were writing about the team when Buddy Ryan was the coach. You and I were on WIP when Richie Kotite was the coach.
Ooh.
And every coach thereafter. We're now up to Nick Sirianni, and we've had different type of personalities, different strong suits, different weaknesses and the like. What do you think Nick Sirianni will be as the Eagles coach over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10? If you think he's got a little Andy Reid in him, what kind of future are we looking at as Nick Sirianni?
It's funny because, like a lot of people, I was kind of blown away that they had hired a guy who had that kind of Harry High School flair to him. And but the longer the season went on, he showed an ability to adapt and do what was necessary. And I thought his players played for him. I think he can get too carried away with wearing the T-shirts of the players and doing all that. And that works as long as you're successful. The key is if it's not successful, when the players roll their eyes. But so far, I'm okay with him. Like, I can't criticize him. I think right now I'm more optimistic about him as a good coach than not. But again, this is like work in progress, Jody. There's a lot of guys that haven't convinced me yet. It's Hurts, it's Jonathan Gannon, and in a large extent, it's Nick Sirianni too. So I think this year will be really a good year to find out a lot about a lot of people.
Kind of the stuff you mentioned, Mike. I called Nick the pander in chief, with the T-shirts and the Phillies gear and the Sixers gear. And I'm with you. I think it's over the top. You think there's a shelf life to that? I mean, I also agree with that. I think
when you lose, there is. You know that, right? You see when you start losing, these guys going, this happy horse bleep, and they start rolling their eyes because all that players want is a plan that wins. And if you have a plan that wins, you can wear Mickey Mouse T-shirts. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. The adjustment part I thought was really, really impressive. Shifting gears in season because a lot of coaches don't do that. They pound.
And in the face, by the way, of management. Yeah, because that management didn't want them to go that way.
Yeah. Now, there are some other troubling things. Like if I told you the Eagles were 32nd in the NFL using motion, and this guy was supposed to be the young, innovative head coach, what does that tell you?
It tells me he really didn't have a lot of faith in his quarterback. I think they look at Hurts and say, okay, here's the way we have to play with him. Let's not get it overcomplicated. You're right. Every team that the Eagles played seemed to play with more motion than the Eagles did. It was very, very basic the way they attacked on offense. And I just thought that he didn't have faith enough in his team to do a lot of those things because he had shifted from trying to do that to this. So I think I'm hoping that you see more of that this year with his offensive attack. Now, he's not calling plays this year, so I don't know if that'll make a difference.
All right. If we're giving Nick Sirianni credit for flying in the face of probably what management wanted and going to a running established game last year and watching it work and make the playoffs, how much gravitas has Sirianni built up? Because we are about 25 days away from them having to cut this roster down. the draft picks, how he brought in, the free agents that Nick Sirianni may have had a hand in on, Mr. Food Poisoning himself, Zach Pascal, finally made it out onto the field yesterday. How he's got control of the roster, but he does from time to time give some of that up. How much collaborative effort do you think is going to go into cutting this 53-man roster down? How much say does Sirianni have?
It's a really good question. I watched Jeffrey Lurie a lot in the box last year, and it was like, yeah, they were winning, but I could see like some wheels turning in his head. They're not winning the way I want them to win. So I don't think they're going to back on. I don't think they've given Sirianni the gravitas to say, all right, just be a running football team. I think they hired him under the notion that this would be a pass-heavy attack, and they better get there. And 1 year was fine, but let's progress. Maybe they've been on the record loudly about what they want to do as a passing offense.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's won them over in 1 year. I think they hired a guy who they knew that they could kind of mold the way they wanted to play football. That's how he got the job. I was stunned that he got the job with that kind of personality and that kind of. I can imagine the interview process, and they must have looked at him like, this is a guy who will play along. So I think that's what's going to happen.
But to a certain degree, I don't think he did play along last season, as you mentioned, by shifting.
Yeah, because it was an emergency.
Yeah. Okay. So when he gets in season, he basically, I give him credit for it. Then he's going to do what he has to do to win a football game, which I think is the way to go about it. It's interesting to me. You mentioned the play calling. He didn't last a half season with as the play caller. He was brought in as the play caller. Jody knows I'm a big fan of CEO coaches. I think it makes more sense than guys who are sort of supercharged offensive coordinators or supercharged defensive coordinators. I looked at that as a positive. Did the Eagles look at that as a positive? As a CEO coach who said, you know what, this is too much. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to hand the play calling off to Shane Steichen. I'm going to oversee the whole thing. Do you think that's a positive in Jeffrey Lurie's mind or a negative?
I like it, like both of you guys. Yeah, I don't really like the offensive coordinator, head coach type of thing. But Andy Reid was their template, so I don't know. I think that maybe it was suggested to Nick that he maybe should step away. He was a young coach. I thought that maybe they thought that was too much on his plate, and they suggested, hey, let's try it this way. You brought this guy in. You have faith in him. I want you to oversee the whole thing because you're that type of coach. You're an overseer of everything. Like some head coaches are an overseer of defense or special teams or whatever. I think that guy's communication skills can translate that way better than having his face buried in a play chart all game.
Mike, I know everybody at JAKIB Media is psyched to have you part of the team and be on the Eagle post-game show on Sunday with a pretty damn good crew. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm really psyched to do it. It kind of came.
We lose, Mike. You lose.
I got nowhere and going to be involved. I go, wow, that seems like an interesting because we're all different, and I think this is the first time, Jody, where I don't have to pontificate. Because I could just kind of play moderator. I've got a guy who's very familiar with the inner workings of the organization, D. Gunn, and I got the opinionated guy over here. And I could just say 2 words to Seth and just 15 minutes it goes on. In fact, we did a press conference to introduce the show at 6 ABC Studios, and I found a way to get to Seth like right away. He made a statement about the Eagles defense really not having any leaders at all. And so, first of all, the first name that came to my mind was Fletcher Cox. So all I did I turned to him and I said, Fletcher Cox? And he went off for 15 minutes about Fletcher Cox.
There we go.
Why he's not the best leader possible. So I go, I have found the formula. There it is. I'll just tweak him and let him go. So it's going to be fun.
At Mike Miss 25, follow Mike on Twitter, MikeMiss.com if you want to see what he's up to. You said you don't have to pontificate with Seth and D Gun, but I'm going to get you to pontificate one last thing here. That's Deshaun Watson, the NFL, how this situation has unfurled. Sue Robinson coming down with her decision, the NFL stepping in. This league is a mess to me on personal conduct issues. It always has been. They created this system to take the sort of fulcrum off them, and they got right back in it and made it a bigger problem. Is that your take, or do you see it a different way?
Yeah, well, it's a bigger problem only in that I think that this arbitrator is really under pressure to increase the suspension, which I heartily agree with. I think he should be suspended for the whole year. He probably won't be, but this guy I think will bump it up a little bit. Judge Robinson's ruling, when I looked at it legally, that her difference was there wasn't any violence involved. I thought it was a really flimsy rationale to justify a 6-game suspension. So I really thought it was a faulty ruling, and I think that's really where the focus is going to be when this guy gets in an arbitration. He knows that the NFL wants him to bump it up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not. I don't think he's going to just say, no, I affirm the 6 games. I think we're going to see more activity with it. And then, of course, we're going to get player association backlash and all that because they're forced to unbelievably defend Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, you're right. It's not over. It's not. You know what? 12 games. That's what I think. I think he's going to double it.
Yeah, I'd sign on with 12. The NFL seems to be pushing for a full year, but if they move it up to 12, it might be a decent compromise position. I'm with you on that, Mike. Mike and I work together at 2 different radio stations, but one thing that Mike never shared with me, and it more so knew after I had left our last station working together, was General Knowledge Wednesday. I gotta tell you, Mike, if I'm in the car and you're doing it, I play along every single time. I either get ticked off because I get it wrong, or it's too easy a question. Where the hell did he come up with that? You got me. You sucked me in on General Knowledge Wednesday. Did you come up with those questions, or did you have a helping hand?
No, I get the question. I had a secret website that I didn't give any, that I kept a secret. And I tapped into that every week. And then I added some of my own. Like I would find board games or I would find a sports book or whatever. I would like a food and wine book. And I would just mix in my own stuff. And and everybody played along. That was the key. The audience played, not the caller, but the audience also playing along.
Oh, you sucked me in. Oh, yeah.
Was the hook for
you
the
got
show.
me.
But how many times did you say, how stupid is that guy? He
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
get that question.
All the time, on a regular basis. That's why I wanted to know. How much time and effort did you put in? If you had a good website you could lean on, that makes sense.
I had a website, but I also had other stuff that I would, like I try to do 4 categories a show just to keep it diverse. And so I would have papers here and a pile here, and then a website here on my computer and things like that, just to make it diverse. And I always try to make it not difficult, like not as difficult, like, brain surgery type questions, like modern culture questions, real easy history questions or whatever it was, because I wanted everybody to get it. It's not fun if nobody's getting a right answer. And but nobody was. So we had to put it over under. We put it over under every week.
And if you want to wind Seth Joyner up, hit him with a tough general knowledge question. Oh,
I think I'll make that part.
He may hit you with a forearm shiver if you go there, but it'll make for great streaming. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, that's what I told D Gunn. I said, listen, if you see that fire in his eye, step in, because I don't want to get clocked on the air here.
Keep Devin on the outskirts. That would be pretty smart.
Yes.
I would think. Mike, great stuff. We appreciate you coming on. If you'd be so kind, we will ask you to jump on from time to time during the year so that after you get to play moderator on Sunday, we'll get you more involved and get your opinions wholeheartedly during the season as it plays out. If you are willing to, we'd love to have you on play.
Yeah, that's no problem, Jody. Good to see you. Good to see you, John. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks,
Our pleasure. Mike Missinelli, who will be part of the Eagle pregame show right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with D-Gun, Seth Joyner, and Devin Caney. Yeah, she needs to sit to the side because these guys might get a little heated during the year. She'll be fun. You are going to want to be here every single Sunday.
It's a solid plan. Just let Seth go. Solid plan.
When in doubt, wind him up and let him rip. All right, we've been wound up for an hour and 50 minutes, which means we still got 10 minutes left. Come on back as we put a bow on the show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit. Glasses for cocktails, right?
It's for this, this, and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Appreciate you streaming in with us here on Mac on Birds 365. We thank Mikey Miss for jumping in. Martin Frank in hour number 1 as well. Both guests gave us some extra added insight today, and we thank them for that. And I love the fact that I was able to get the invite in ahead of time on Mikey Miss. Always better to invite him back when you got him on there. Because you don't want him going, no, I'm never friggin' showing up with you two assholes again. No, so
it's well done. See, that's experience.
Yes, you put that request out early. But one thing Mike said right there at the end when you rightfully asked him about Goodell, I was going to go there next. So thank you for doing so. They are presently at 6 games. Mike suggested if you go to 12, it's doubling the punishment. It's not the entire year. Good compromise position, which I'm with him on that. So 6, could it go to 12? Here's how I'm going to tie it back into this weekend. As of what was explained to me on the air on WIP on Sunday by Hall of Fame, soon-to-be inductee Dick Vermeil, the NFL Hall of Fame would like the inductees to have their speech go no more than 6 minutes.
Wasn't it 8?
here's the deal. This is what Dick told us. And Glenn and I had him on Sunday. They, at the 6-minute mark, will make a musical interlude.
Academy Award. Yeah,
like the Academy Awards. Yeah. But it's just going to be like a couple of notes to signify to the person, all right, you hit the 6-minute mark, you got 2 minutes to go. They would prefer that you wrap it up at 6, but they're going to give you all the way till 8. Once you get to 8, the volume of the music will be louder and continuous, and they will attempt to play the inductees off the stage. And they're going to be more aggressive with this than they've ever been before. Because we've had half an hour Hall of Fame speeches.
Oh, yeah.
Guys just
we've
go
gone
on
longer,
and on and on and on.
Now, I got to believe we've even gone longer than that. There are guys who've been up there forever.
Right.
Maybe
I don't think anyone's ever hit an hour, but I know there's several have gone over a half an hour. It's also going to be done during the day. They're moving it up. Usually they would hold it till the sun went down sometime evening into night. And oh, by the way, Dick is going last out of the 8 inductees. So by the time he gets up there, maybe when is the time that they usually start. But he was told he's going to go last. He's looking forward to it and the like. But Dick's Dick. And Dick will get emotional at some point. That's a foregone conclusion. Yeah. He copped to it when he was on with us on Sunday. He said, yeah, you know I'm going to cry. 6 is the number as of right now. You're supposed to finish at 6. So I'm going to set the over and under number at 12. The music will be playing supposedly loudly if he gets all the way to 12 minutes, Johnny Mac. Under over Dick Vermeil, Hall of Fame acceptance speech at 12 minutes. Which way you going?
That's a good number, Jody. I'm going to give you credit. Boy, I'm going to go under. Only because it's going to be so difficult to keep it going with the if the Hall of Fame is telling the truth and they are going to play at 8 minutes and louder music, it's going to be tough to go 4 minutes on top of that in that environment. That's the only reason I'm going under. If that were like we're doing that to scare the speakers, so to speak, wink, wink, but they're not really doing it, then I go way over. But I'm going to take them at their word, and if they do that, he's going to have to cut it short before the 12-minute mark.
The good news is that you won't have to put your wager in until after a couple of guys have gone. And then you could judge how the NFL is actually holding true to the music. It's going to get louder and louder and louder. And then you can just basically hammer the winner. If they're not really doing it, go over. If they are doing it, go under. Good handicapping by you. All right, do me a favor. Jody Mac, do me a favor. As best you know, what is the John McMullen schedule next week? How many days you practice? How many days you here with me? Do you know your entire schedule? We know Friday you'll be here because the Eagles are playing the Jets that night.
Yeah, I believe.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What's the McMullen schedule?
I believe I will be here for the full show Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday, definitely. Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe they're practicing. So I believe I'll be back here Monday. That's the only one I got to. I'm doing this by
off the top of your head.
Yeah, off the top of my head. So I believe I'll obviously text you off the air. But
so
I believe
practice. They're off today. They're going to practice
Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, that clears it up for me. So they're practicing. They're off today. Players' day off. They're back at practice tomorrow. Sunday's Lincoln Financial Field at night.
Oh, that's right. Sunday open practice.
Yeah. Monday, I'll be here. Tuesday practice at NovaCare. Wednesday practice. Thursday the day off before the game. Friday's the
walk
game.
Through. So all right. So you're here Monday, Thursday, Friday next week. Cool. We will work accordingly. We will get ready for the first Eagle game of the season. That all-important opening game. Jets. Nobody's playing. John and I both acknowledge the 11 offensive start. Maybe Quez.
Maybe
right?
Quez.
We said maybe Quez plays The other 10 guys will not even see the field.
Maybe you'll see Kenny Gainwell if you consider him a starter.
No,
we don't want to get Miles upset.
The coach came to Miles' defense the other day. When Miles got a little too heated about it, coach said, no, he's our starting running back. So as of now, Miles is there. He may never get the ball down by the goal line, but he is their number one. He is RB1, so to speak. J-Mac, good show today. Thank you, bud. We will be back on Monday. You said Monday you're here, but Tuesday, Wednesday, you can probably be at practice. So I'm back here on Monday at 8 o'clock. Are you?
I will be here.
All right, then. As in days, Mac and Mac back in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.